Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat, where we will be previewing the GWS game. Just before we get stuck into it though, boys, we want to congratulate Eddie Betts on his 350th and final game. Eddie debuted back in round 1, 2005 against North Melbourne. He didn't play many minutes, but still managed to kick 2 goals. His first goal was a ripper from the boundary, which sort of, you could tell earlier the bloke was going to be something special. He then went on to dazzle us for 17 years, kicking some of the greatest goals you'll ever see. Eddie's career stats were 638 goals, 3-time All-Australian, 4 times AFL Goal of the Year, which is the most of any player. Just as significant is Eddie's off-field work, writing 2 children's books about respecting others and being kind to one another. Eddie has had his fair share of racist encounters and he's doing an excellent job to educate Australians on the effects of racism. Check out his website more to hear more about his story. Mitch will chuck the link in the description. Now, boys, we've all loved watching Eddie play for a large part of our lives. I want to know, what is your favourite Eddie Betts moment? Jack, we'll start with you, mate.
Start with me. I mean, there's so many to choose from. I mean, he's 4 times, as I said, Goal of the Year winner. So there's had plenty of spectacular moments. But I think for me, that game against Collingwood where he kicked 8 goals, I think that was just one of the most phenomenal games from a small forward that I've ever seen. The way he just, tore that game apart and, pretty much single-handedly won us that game. So that was probably my favourite moment.
Yeah, it was a ripper. Daff, what about you, mate?
Yeah, like Jack said, there's so many to choose from. It's really hard to pick one. His whole career has really been a highlight of all of our lives, really. For me, this one's a bit more out of the box. It's more of a personal one. I think it was against Melbourne 2013. The siren went. He takes a mark, probably 50 out. It was bucketing down. We were up by about 50 when we used to pump Melbourne when they used to be no good. And I was like on the pocket, like I was right on the 50 pocket, just standing there. And he just launches one, like just on the boundary, tore. Like, who does that shit?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You just pull it out. Not even pull it out of your ass when you do it so many times. And yeah, like, it was just a good memory. And obviously on the TV, I was actually right behind it, little Daft, putting his hands up. And it was just a great memory. And looking back at it now, it's just pretty emotional, really.
Excellent moment, mate. What did you have, Pato? What's your favourite moment, mate?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys have said, there's so many moments. There's too many moments. It just shows how good he was, which also makes it even more sad and emotional that he's actually retiring, the realization that he's actually not going to be there next year. But I reckon the goal in 2006, I believe, against Collingwood, when that was voted Goal of the Year, I think it was voted Goal of the Year, but what a goal. Spectacular. I think it was maybe I think that was maybe his 2nd or 3rd year. Spectacular. That just shows that every single time that he's done that, the first couple of years, are like, oh yeah, that was just a fluke. But he does it so consistently. It's actually crazy, and that just shows how talented this guy is. And I seriously don't think there will ever be a player like Eddie ever again.
He's a magician, there's no doubt about it. Just on that as well, a video released earlier on in the week by the boys at Baggers Chat, more importantly, Mitchell Pattinson. He does an excellent job there, so make sure you check that one out if you haven't already. My favourite moment was 8 goals against Essendon in 2011. He was about 50 out. He handballed it to Robbo. His second goal. This is his second goal. Robbo kicks it to the top of the square. Juddy gets it, and Eddie's ran 50 metres when he gave the handball off to the top of the goal square, gets the ball, kicks a goal. That was his second goal, and then he goes on to kick 8. He just turned it on that day. It was pretty sensational.
Spectacular.
That was that Andy Walker's mark as well, that game?
Yeah, that was one. I think we ended up was that the year? But might be the year.
No, I think it was the same game because we pumped
it.
We pumped them. Yeah, exactly right. All right, well, this leads me on to my next one as well. Obviously, Levi Casboult, Boyhood Blue Bagger, is also hanging up the boots. He's a life member of the Carlton Footy Club, playing 153 games and kicking 154 goals. So not bad. Do you have a favourite moment from Levi, Ethan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's worked hard his whole career and, he's got a bit of slack from us supporters over the years, but we all love him. We all love him, and he's a Carlton man through and through. We all know that. My memory, I think he really started to hit a bit of form once T took over in 2019, playing both back and forward, and he just looked a bit more free. He had a bit more freedom, and we're playing an attacking brand of footy at the time. And yeah, I think it was the Adelaide game. It was a pretty good day, and he kicked 3 and really took it over. Like, he was just taking marks everywhere, kicking goals from 50 on the run, and yeah, that was just a great day.
His contested marks have always been pretty sort of top. Jack, do you have a favourite Levi moment for us, mate?
Yeah, it had to be his mark that was nominated for Mark of the Year against the Hawks in 2014. I was at that game and I was right behind it. It was just a great mark. Like, it was really the birth of Levi Casboult, and his contested marking, I think. It's not much else. It was just a river mark, and I think, it just sums up his career, just the big contested clunks.
Absolutely. Mitch, what about you, mate?
Yeah, as we mentioned, in 2019, he was actually, that just shows how good he was, because when he was actually sent back in the St Kilda game, when he was sent back into the back line, it just shows how good he was. I mean, obviously, for him to play 150 odd games for an AFL club, that's a great effort. So, I just think it's actually pretty underrated how for most of 2019, he was classified as a forward and he played so well against the Adelaide in 2019, but he actually then went back in St Kilda when I think Weeders was down and Jones or maybe it was the other way around. I think Weeders, I'm not too sure, but then we pretty much needed Levi to go back, and he stood up. I think he just looked comfortable back there, and I think that's his first game playing back. So I reckon that's by far my standout moment with Levi, and shout out to Levi. He great career, and enjoy retirement.
Well said, mate. My favourite is when he kicked 3 goals, one from against Essendon round 20-ish, 21, I think it was 2012, where we won by 96 points that day. So that's why I thought it might have been the Andy Walker mark, but my memory's dreadful. He kicked 3 goals. One was from 50, on the boundary as well, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
He's always had a big boot too. So, yeah, thanks for everything, mate, and enjoy life after footy. Now, let's get stuck into it. So, last time we played GWS was round 14 this year. They beat us by 6 goals. Finlayson kicked 5, and Green, who we'll get to later on, kicked 4 goals. So, took it away from us in the end. What do you remember from that game, boys? Mitchell, what do you remember, mate?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was a very disappointing game, but I think one of the standouts was definitely Matthew Kenny, and that's probably one of the shining lights of the year. When he played that game, he's kind of been very consistent since then. So I reckon that's definitely been the shining light, but obviously very disappointing game.
27 disposals, I believe, from memory.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was a high for us too. Ethan, what about you, mate? What do you remember?
Yeah, it was a bit of a we barely played, and we barely played any good footy, and it was about 10 minutes, and we kind of clawed back a bit. Just been really a story of our season, just turning shitty performances into 4-goal losses, making it not look so bad. But yeah, it was a game we really didn't deserve to be in, and I think it'll be tough this week. The Giants just trying to solidify their top 8 spots, and they're playing some good footy.
You really turned it on at the right time, GWS, last few weeks. The biggest thing for me as well, Harry kicked 3 that game, and then Owies 2. So I don't know where our goals are going to come from, but we'll be interesting to see. Jack, what do you remember, mate?
I remember we didn't have Lockie Plowman. That was definitely the defining factor of the game. To have no one playing on Toby Green, it was definitely the reason we lost. But no, it was just a shit game of football.
All right, moving on to our ins. Lockie Fogarty comes back in for us, and also he's back, the big skipper, Patrick Cripps, the co-captain, I should say, Patrick Cripps. Our outs are Paddy Dow, which is interesting. He's omitted. Obviously, Murphy retired, and then SPS was medical sub, so he's still named as an emergency with Dow, Parks, and Owies. Jack, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
I mean, I'm not too begrudged really about Dow being out. I mean, he hasn't played very good the last few weeks, and he was very, very bad last week. Had 1 disposal in the second half, I think, as playing most of the game. So not too good signs. I mean, should he have played? Does it really matter if he played? Maybe, but I'm not really too fussed about him not playing, and I'm happy that Fogg's back in for one last game this year. I think he deserves that.
Yeah, all right, beautiful. Daff, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I like the addition of Lockie Fogarty. I like what he brings. He brings a lot of forward pressure. He did struggle a bit before he was dropped. That's not negative on him. I'm sure he'd be all right. But he just provides that forward pressure. I think we do still lack a little bit. It's been better with guys like Honey and Durden.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see them three in the forward line. It'd be pretty weird forward line, actually. Quite short, but then we have two talls who are quite athletic, and Curnow and McGovern. But other than that, I think Dow probably deserves it. That probably tells a story. I think he might be on the trade table, Paddy Dow. That's just my call. I think he's a bit of a 50-50, I reckon, because you might get something all right for him. It might be a pick that we use for a target in, Lipinski or a Riccardi or something like that. So I don't mind. Last game.
Is it unfair as well? Is it unfair or not to pick out, Dow in a 95-point loss? There's a lot more people that can take a bit more blame as well than just Dow. It's probably fair enough, but do you reckon there's still a few more players that should have also maybe potentially faced being omitted, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess so. Like there's several names that we were talking about last week, but I don't know. I think for his expectation, he should be playing better than that. Really, yeah. I know it shouldn't be based on expectations; it should be based on equal performance and all that. But like having 8 touches for a game as a mid, for a guy who was looking promising, in the round 15 to round 19 kind of ish. But yeah, I don't know. He's in trouble.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see. Mitch, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, like Henny Inns with Cripper and Fogarty. I really rate Fogarty. I feel like he started pretty well for the first maybe 5 or 6 games. Like I think the Richmond game round 1, I thought he was sensational. I thought he was one of our best on. So and obviously Cripper, very handy with the contested ball. And obviously the out SBS. I reckon he's probably on the trade table as well. And I completely agree with you, Daff. I reckon Dow after that omitted. And I'm checking I'm checking the stats now. And Paddy Dow, sorry, I didn't think he actually played that bad to get dropped. Like he had 18 touches. Like 18. I didn't think yeah. So I mean, like he had 18 touches, and like he was what? So Walsh, Kearney, Murphy, Curnow, O'Brien, and Dow. So he was behind all those players. So I mean, stiff, but he obviously must have done something that team didn't like. And
I think he's defensive side almost. Like you watch him sometimes. Yeah. So like balls at our half back, he kind of looks a bit lost at the stoppage.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just he just looks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you see Walsh, they kind of know what they're doing, like Walsh and Cripps and that. And then if there's one guy who doesn't know what he's doing, that creates a gap for the other team, and we see how he used that to their advantage.
Daffy, your time to shine, mate. Key matchups.
Key matchup. So we're kind of touchy on those down back just before. One important one for me is Tim Taranto is listed up forward to start the game. I was checking before, and he had a big game against Richmond. I think he kicked 4 in the first half or something like that. Yep, 4. So do you reckon? I reckon Liam Stocker might take him. I think that'll be an interesting matchup for Stocker. I think he's probably one of our better small defenders, I guess. Like Sardi's more of a run-off defender rather than a stick to your man type defender. What do you reckon about that? How do you reckon we can minimise Taranto's goal kicking ability?
Mitch, you go, mate.
Yeah, I think it's handy that they have a guy like Tim Taranto who could float through the midfield and also go forward. Well, I think that's pretty handy, and it shows that he kicked 4 or 5 last week. So I reckon he played spectacular last week, and I reckon that's another threat in the Giants lineup.
Sam?
Yeah, I did over what Pato said. He played very well last week. I do agree Stocker will go to him. They're about the same. There's 4 centimetres difference between them. So you'd see that as a likely matchup. But yeah, same as what Pato said. He played well last week. It's going to be interesting this week.
Especially.
Yeah, I think, you guys just Stock will probably go to him, and I think Newey will probably go to someone like a Daniel Lloyd. I was just looking at their lineup, and like once again another three tall forward line, which is going to expose our small back line once again. But I guess we'll see how we go.
They're looking pretty dangerous with Taranto and Green in that forward line. We usually let kind of mid forward players kick about bags on us all the time. So we'll move on. For me, this in the midfield, I reckon this is probably the best matchup. Very kind of similar-ish players in a sense. We got Walsh against Josh Kelly. I think they're both elite runners. Like you watch them all day, they're running up and down the ground all fucking day. And it's just it's pretty great to watch. To see their tank throughout a game. What do you reckon about that, boys? How do you reckon Walsh will go against a Kelly he's looking pretty good in the last month?
Tell you, I mean, as we said, as a team, GWS had turned it on at the right time, and him in particular, he just signed a pretty massive deal as well, didn't he? Was it 8 years? However many years?
Yeah, he hit the trigger for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Pato said he's on like 10 million a year or something like that. So, I don't think that's 100% accurate, but he'd be on the quid, that's for sure. It'd be interesting to see. Sammy Walsh, am I right in saying the last few weeks? I mean, we've lost by 95 points, but I think hasn't had his usual impact, I would say. It's all a bit harsh.
He had 30 last week. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
it's hard when he's running around with training.
95 points, it's hard to see, but that usual impact, I don't know. The few little goals he gets as well. It'd be good to see. What about you, Pato?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I said 10 million a year for Josh Kelly. It was actually meant to be 8 million a year for Josh Kelly. No, obviously 1 million a year for Josh Kelly. That just shows how much of a quality player he is. This year his role's changed a little bit more. Last year was more as an outside midfielder, but this year he's definitely changed more as an inside midfielder. And I reckon ever since he's moved into the midfield, he's been spectacular. So it would be a test for Walsh just because they're both absolute gut runners, but we'll have to see.
What do you reckon about Walsh? How will Walsh match up?
I mean, I think he's a very good matchup for Kelly. I mean, I'm just looking at their stats. You know, he averages more contested possessions, more disposals, and it's pretty much beats him in every stat. So I think he matches up really well. But to your point, as we're talking about with the running, I'm scared about Lockie Whitfield because last time we played them, no one was near him the whole game. 21 of his 26 touches were uncontested, and he had 600 meters gained. So that's the one that I'm really scared about. You know, just make sure someone goes near him this time rather than no one like last time.
Yeah, I think that almost could be a role for a Fogarty just to stick with him. Well, we'll move on. We'll move on now. We've got the up forward. We've got Charlie Curnow on Nick Haynes. I really rate Nick Haynes. He's a great, really good defender. I think he's a little bit underrated in my opinion. He should be up the top five-ish. But what do you reckon, boys? How do you reckon Charlie will go? I think he was good last week, Charlie. He was moving better. He looked a bit more comfortable. Pato? Obviously,
it's going to be tough for Charlie just because, he's only 3 or 4 matches left into it. So, and I feel like it's a little bit similar to the game with Haynes with Aliir. So I feel like they both play the same sort of game, just kind of the loose. So it's another test for Charlie Curnow, and I reckon he'll well and truly be up for it.
Especially,
yeah, I think Pat Mitch hit the nail on the head. Haynes is a very, very intercepting type of player. He takes a lot of intercept marks and is a great rebound player. But Charlie's, as Pato said, only back in game number 4. So I think Haynes will probably get the job done. But I think, as Pato said, Charlie will definitely have a very hot crack and could bag a few, which would be nice.
Samuel?
I want to flip this and I want to ask you guys. So I'll go first. What I'm going to say. So he's up against a quality opponent last week in Aliir. Which I thought Aliir played very well. He's a very good defender. Obviously, he's 4 games back, whatever he is, Charlie. What my question to you guys is going to be, 4 games in now, what are your expectations from Charlie out of this game, Pato?
Yeah, not much. I just feel like I just want him out there, really. I don't really want him to of course I would love to see him kick 10, but the odds of that aren't high. So I just love seeing him out there, to be honest.
Yeah, just get him through the year and expect more next year, I guess. Jack, same sort of thing, mate?
Exactly what you just said, get him through this year and then come round 1, assuming he has a really strong preseason, that's when you start, expecting him to really pick up his game.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, get a few games in the latter part of the year. Sorry to steal your thunder, Dash. It was just an interesting question that I wanted to ask.
All done, mate.
Thank you. Any more matchups for us? Are we done?
All done, mate.
Oh, no. There's no Ruckman playing next week. All right, that's all good. That's good. All right, beautiful. Moving on to the next segment. So, under the pump. Who do you have under the pump, Jack?
Oh, that's a tough question. After a 95-point flogging, it's a
Who don't
very
you have?
tough question. I guess, yeah, just the whole team. I think we're pretty much all going to say that. Just to, not be flogged and embarrassed again for another Legends, farewell game. I'd just love to see us actually fight out a game for, 4 quarters and, not let Eddie go out like Murph did.
Yeah, also, mate. Pato?
Yeah, under the pump, I think it's Lockie O'Brien. And Jack Moons I also have as well. I feel like they're both 2 players who are playing for a contract next year. So I reckon they're under the pump. And obviously you can't bring out last week, this week again. So hopefully they all lift.
Beautiful. Daff, what do you have, mate?
The Carlton media team. Thinking of a caption for the full-time post, so we lose by about 80.
Yeah.
It's always hard when you lose. You see, when you win, you've got the best ones. You've got the best captions to think of. But when you lose, it's just full-time at Marvel. Full-time. That's it. So credit to them. They've been a media team through the shittest fucking year. So hopefully blue skies ahead for them.
The shittest year, you reckon? Not the shittest year. A bad year, but surely not the worst year we've seen.
Yeah, but more
expectations-wise,
yes. Like being attacked. Like the club, like all the fans are starting to attack the club, as in having a go. Like 2018, we knew we were going to be shit. You know what I mean? Like you just knew that's the building blocks to get somewhere. But now we've done those building blocks and we're still not anywhere. And it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, you're trying to say now that you've gone after the media team of the Carlton Footy Club, I think we've had pretty much every person inside the 4 walls of our club under the pump this year. So raise a toast to that. Everyone's copped it this year from Baggers Chat. My under the pump I've got is just the whole team. The way they farewelled a 300-game club champion last week was dreadful. I just hope they, somewhat at least show up and put together some sort of performance to farewell the great man Eddie Betts and the other great man Levi Casboult. So,
Yep.
Lift, boys, lift. All right, beautiful. Moving on to some questions that our lovely, endeared fans have sent in. So, first one is from Pato and my mate, Tommy G. Who is the best coach to take over if Teague train derails? So, it's 2 questions. That's the first question there. Who's the best coach to take over if the Teague train derails? Jack.
Me personally, I say Clarko. I don't want Ross at all. I just think Clarko's, better resume. He's more, he's been in the game, last few years, obviously, and he's coaching Hawthorn really well at the moment. So I'd rather a fresher coach like him than someone who's been out of it for a little bit like Ross.
Beautiful. Daff.
I've got an absolutely different opinion to that. I think Ross Lyon will be the coach of Carlton next year. I think you could almost lock it in right now. I don't think
who's the best coach to take over, not who's going to take over. Who's the best coach to take over, mate?
Ross Lyon. I think he's hungry. He hasn't won a flag. He's been out of the game for a few years. He's talking about how he's got that passion for coaching back. And I think if we have a passionate coach and he, gets the boys up and about, I think I'm a bit excited. I'm a bit excited.
I think Teague's passionate to coach so as well.
Yeah, but just, for times to move on, and we have a coach like Ross Lyon come in who's people love him, like Luke Ryan, the player at Freo, said he's a great coach. Absolutely great coach.
And Adam Chera said he's shit.
Yes. But I don't believe that. I absolutely don't believe that. Because last week, Ross Lyon said Carlton should get Chera, and he's talking all up about it. So I don't know. But yeah, Pato.
Bang, Pato.
Oh, Clarko for me. Of course, I would love Ross Lyon. I love both of them, either or. But Clarko for me.
Also, the second question from Tommy G. Grand final tips, not Geelong, Tommy, I reckon, but Mitch, who's winning the grand final this year, mate?
I knew he was going to ask this because obviously he's a Geelong supporter. And I've told him that Cats will win the flag. But my opinion's changed a little. I actually reckon Port Adelaide could be a genuine chance. Seriously, I reckon
they beat us. They haven't beaten a top 8 team.
I reckon that's the other. That's the other factor. But I feel like also they made the prelim last year. They lost to Richmond by a goal, I think it was. So I don't know. I mean, they had the experience. I feel like they could be up there.
Bang, Daff, grand final this year, mate. Who's winning?
Melbourne Demons, lock that in. They won't lose a game in the final series. It's a bit of bias for the bad goes for them. They're my second team, but I think it's their year. I think they're going to break the drought. I hate when teams have a drought. I feel bad for them a little bit, unless they're calling it or resting it. Melbourne by 29 against the Cats in the grand final. Max Gawn, Norm Smith.
Bang.
Max Gawn, Norm Smith. That's probably the most interesting out of a lot of that.
He's a great player, underrated.
Great player, absolutely. But is he the type of player to be a Norm? You reckon? Obviously, you do reckon that.
Definitely.
Yeah, bang. Speech. Grand final, mate.
Yeah, I agree with Daff. I reckon the D's. I just think they'll be hungry. Good list, and they've been good all year. I think about time they break the drought, as Daff said.
I've thought Melbourne all year, and then I've sort of GWS has sort of come up a little bit. I reckon they're sneaky.
The Giants.
Smoky, yeah. And then Whitfield to win the Norm.
Bang.
Barney, your mate Mitch, are you happy to trade our pick 6 for Chera or trade SPS and a second or third rounder? Speech.
I'd rather the second option than trade pick 6. I'd rather us either split the pick and get 2 first rounders, or take the 6 to the draft. I wouldn't want to trade it for someone like Chera.
Beautiful. Daff.
Yeah, SPS. See you, mate. Don't hit your head on the door, mate. But yeah, I think like Speech said, split it. Get a first rounder still, maybe like 11 or 12 or something like that. Don't fucking give away a 6. Don't do that again. Like Sard, in my opinion, is almost worth it. Almost. I think he's been great all year, but we cannot do that again. We need young talent. Josh Cripps.
Bang. Pato.
Yeah, I reckon the second option. I reckon SPS is gone. We can't trade our first pick for Chera. Me personally, I love. I reckon he's a great player, but I don't think he's worth pick 6.
All right, next question. Who have we got here? Sophie, who has been your favourite player of the year? Jack.
Walshy. I can't go past Walshy.
Bang. Pato.
Harry Mackay for me. I reckon he's been great.
That's good.
Yep. Daff.
Harry Mackay. I think Walshy's had a great year as well. Both of them a bit equal, but I've just liked how Mackay's developed his game really, really quickly. In a way.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go past Harry. Just comparing last year to this year, although he done it last year, like just to win the Coleman and still miss out on however many games he's missed out on. It's pretty good. He's all right. Locked in. All right, beautiful. One more question before we get into our predictions, boys. So this one is from a good mate of ours, Aiden Box. Good bloke. Long-time watcher.
I was trying about the box, sorry.
Yeah, it was good. Long-time watcher, fourth-time questioner probably. We see the culture of teams pretty obviously. Hawthorn is very much a family club. Richmond is one family, next man up mentality. And West Coast had friends, family, flags. What's the culture of the Carlton Football Club, or is there any culture? Jack Speechley.
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, we don't really have a culture. I mean, when you have a losing culture for the last 20 years, it's hard to, develop and, sustain a good culture, especially when you get rid of coaches every 3 years, and also doesn't help. So I think he's right in saying that we don't really have a culture except a losing one.
Yep. Easy. Daff, what do you reckon, mate?
For me, what I've always found special, walking to the G and sitting down with blue baggers is the multiculturalism. I think that's probably one of our key cultures. I think that's what the Carlton Football Club's really built on. Italian heritage and European heritage. Just look around, me being, an Aussie guy, and just, it's pretty cool to see, different people from different backgrounds supporting one thing and loving one thing. I know we haven't, been great on field, but it always feels special to be as one, despite being different to everyone else, I guess. And Jack's right as well, but yeah.
I like that answer. I used to work on Lygon Street as well, so we used to get a lot of, that's where Andrew Walker, so I met him. So yeah, a lot of Carlton supporters down that way. So I completely agree. Mitchell Pattinson, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a tough one that the culture can be so poor. I mean, we don't know, but from the outside of the club, it looks very poor, and it's quite shattering because, I mean, this club is so proud. They've won 16 premierships. It's one of the most well-known clubs in Australia, and the culture isn't very high. It's not a very it doesn't really seem like seems too much like a workplace. Doesn't seem like a football club. So, and I think that's the main thing they need to change. And they say like T's a little bit too friendly with the players. I think that's probably what builds the culture, to be honest.
Yeah.
If the coach is being an absolute dickhead to the players, then I don't think that will help the culture one bit. So, my opinion, that needs to be the first thing that they need to do to change this club and get it back to where it belongs.
Bang. All right. Moving on to our match predictions. This will be very interesting. I'll start with the usual, outside myself, the usual, I guess, optimist of the group, and that's our old 80-odd points, whatever it was. Ethan Daffy, what do you got for us, mate?
This is optimistic still. I think we will lose by 38.
Oh,
That is optimistic.
I think, I don't know. It's tough after last week, but it's a good track for the GWS Giants, and I think they might run rampant on us, unfortunately.
that's optimistic. All right. Whew, interesting. Speech. What's going to happen, mate?
I mean, round 23 is not really our forte. I mean, average losing margin of 10 goals since 2015. So, a bit of a yikes. So I've got, I hope this comes back and bites me on the arse really bad. I have Giants by 78.
Shit.
Whoa. So what do you got then, Pato?
Wow.
Meet in the middle.
Wow. I'm entering my Daffy.
Oh, no.
I have got the Blues by 12. I'm back in the Blues this week. It might come back to bite me in the ass. Might be a 100-point loss by the Blue Vegas. Daff has left. Daff has left.
Good enough.
Yeah. I mean, surely they can't.
Up the baggers.
Last week. They can't back.
They're not very.
It's Eddie's last game.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you'll win though. Like,
oh, mate, it does.
It was Murphy's last game. Last week we lost by 95 points, mate.
yeah. Backing it up after that performance is losing by 50 less, not winning.
Do you reckon they come back a bit? In terms of, do you reckon 95 points last week? Obviously you don't, judging by your predictions, but is there a small chance that they just kick themselves into gear? But obviously a lot of key outs. We won't go through them here, Harry Jones, whatever. But, coming off back with a 95-point loss, I reckon they'll be right. I did have GWS by 27, but look, Pato's inspired me. He's inspired me. Blues by 2 points. Blues by 2 points. 2 points.
Wee.
Number 2, mate. Comes after 1. Curnow and Eddie to combine for 8 goals between them.
I reckon we won't even have 8 inside 50 entries, but
I
hope the fucking Gordon happens.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wait and see what happens. There's my match predictions. What more can we do? All right. And if you're not already, follow us on Spotify, Facebook, mate. We're on everything. Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, soon to be Twitter, soon to be TikTok. We're on everything.
MySpace, everything.
Snapchat. We're on everything.
Snapchat, yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't already as well, plugged it earlier, get around, what we call it, Blue Magician. And if you haven't, go back a few weeks as well and watch Murph's one. What do we call that? Blue Warrior. So excellent videos by Mitchell Pattinson. Does a great job. We love his work. So not much else to say from me, boys. You guys got anything else you wanted to add?
Of course, all the very best to Eddie Betts and Levi Casboult. Absolute, we'll say both of them have been absolute legends of the club. I assume both of them would be life members of the Carlton Footy Club. Yep. So all the best in retirement, and hopefully they can be welcomed back to the club very soon.
100 games over 10 years. Levi is a life member. All right, easy. That's all.
As always.
Preview of the year, thankfully.
Yep.
So,
yep.
As always,
go the Baggers!
Our Baggers.